So, Yud Shvat is coming up soon. So we're going to learn about Hashem the Maimer Basi Legani Tavshin Memvav. And every year, Foman the Rebbe is Mekabel the Nesias. Until Memches Al Kolpanim, the Rebbe again and again and again reminds us what's our Indian, that we're the Dei Hashvi. Right, from the very, very first Maimer that the Rebbe said, the Rebbe made it clear to us that as the seventh generation, it's our job to bring Mashiach b'poil mamish in actuality, not just to bring him closer and to accomplish more in the process of bringing Mashiach, but to actually bring Mashiach. And every year, in case we forgot that message, they have repeated that message again and again. We should stay grounded and know what our job is as Chassidim of the Rebbe. We have to bring Mashiach b'poil mamish. So it's always geschmack to get this overview of our general Aveda and Basi Legani. So let's start. Seb, it says the Rebbe starts the man with Basi Legani Achesi Kala. This is the medrash that the Frierdiker Rebbe quotes in the beginning of his Maimer. This is the Dibra Maskell of the Frierdiker Rebbe's Maimer. That the Eibishter says, I came to my garden or to my meeting place, and my sister is a Kala. My garden, my meeting place, is a reference to this world, like we'll soon see. And my Kala is the Yidden. So the world is the place where the Eibishter meets and communicates with the Yidden, with his Kala, with the Yidden. Umevi b'zeh ba'al ha'ilula b'tchilas ha'emshech ha'ilula. And maybe the Baal Ha'ilula b'tchilas ha'emshech ha'ilula, the Baal Ha'ilula, the Frierdiker. The Baal Ha'ilula, the Frierdiker Rebbe brings in the beginning of his Maimer Shahitzi Baal Ha'ilula Atzmi Liyem Zeh. The Rebbe says that the Frierdiker Rebbe himself had it published for the day of his Yom Ha'ilula. In other words, this is a message that the Frierdiker Rebbe gave us for the day of Yud Shvat, knowing that there would be the inyan of Histalkos, and to tell us how to move on and how to live in the years to come. He gave us this Maimer. It says in Medeshaba b'Mekayme in its place, and the Chassidim are medayik why the Frierdiker Rebbe was added b'Mekayme. And they say that because if you look over there, you see that the Baal HaMemra, the one who says Basi Legani Chesed Kala, is Menachem Shmei. His name is Menachem, and Chassidim took it as a hint from the Frierdiker Rebbe that the Rebbe is going to be his Mamshech Derech. Legani Lignuni. He's medayik that it doesn't say Basi Legan, I came to a garden. He says Basi Legani, I came to my garden. L'mokim she'ikari b'tchila. Because the Eibishter is saying that this garden is already mine. It's the place where I was in the first place. What does this mean? The at the beginning of creation, the main resting place, the main place where the Shechina found itself was Dafka in the lower worlds, in the physical world. The Acharkach, however, afterwards, even it was Mamash on the sixth day of creation, what happened? We play Siba for a reason. That says for a reason. In other words, there's deep reasons why this happened. There were 7 unwanted events. That removed and they pushed up the Shechina higher and higher. Through a process of 7 unwanted things, the Iker Shechina went from resting in this physical world all the way up to the 7th heaven as far as could be. The Acharkach, and after this series of 7 unwanted events, started a new Seder. Both Shivat Tzadikim, 7 Tzadikim came, Shnim Nuv Medrash are listed in the Medrash. Veridu is Shechina Milamayla Lamata Merikei Ashvi, starting from Avraham Avinu all the way down until Moshe Rabbeinu. They slowly began to reverse this process that started with the Chet Tzadas, and they brought the Shechina back down from the 7th heaven to the 6th heaven, etc., until down here to this world. Until Moshe Rabbeinu came along. Shehu Ashvi, he was the 7th of these Tzadikim, and all of the 7th have a special love, and they have a special place. They're special, and therefore he had the special job of making the switch of restoring the situation to the way it was before, that instead of the Shechina being in the heavens, now the Shechina is down here in this world. He brought it down into this physical world. The primary place where you had the revelation of a likus of godliness in this world, where you had Iker Shechina b'tachtenim, that was in the Beis HaMikdash. Like it says in the pasuk, that in the Beis HaMikdash, make for me a mikdash, and I will dwell in it. So the place where the Eibishter Shechina rests or dwells in this world is in the Beis Hamikdash. Why does the Frierdiker Rebbe bring this idea of Asle Mikdash Shechanti B'Seicham? He's pointing out to us there was a process of bringing the Shekhinah down here into this earth, into this world. Moshe Rabbeinu started it already in Matan Torah. However, even though Moshe Rabbeinu had already started this process by receiving the Torah in this world, and that was already Shekhinah Lamata, but that's not the main thing of Shekhinah Ba'aretz. The Ikar revelation of the Shekhinah in this world, that was Dafka in the Mishkan or in the Mikdash, like he's going to say in a moment. Shanasa Gamkan de Moshe Rabbeinu, the Mishkan was also built through Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay, so in short, in a very high level, a very global view of things, you have the Eibishter created the world to rest in it. When the Eibishter made the world, his Shekhinah rested in this world, not in all the Elamei Salyanim. This is where he was. And then for a reason that only the Eibishter knows, he wanted that there should be a series of 7 unwanted events, and they removed the Shekhinah from this world. And now he gave the job to the Yidden, like we're going to see in a moment, to bring the Shekhinah back down. Originally, this was starting from Avram Avinu and going down until Moshe Rabbeinu, who brought the Shekhinah down here into this world. And to where in the world was the main revelation of the Shekhinah was in the Beis Hamikdash. And now, afterwards, unfortunately, the Shekhinah again was removed from this world. And we all, to this day, carry the job of bringing the Shekhinah back down here. And we're in the 7th generation, like the Rebbe says in Tafshin Yud Aleph. We're the 7th generation, just like Moshe Rabbeinu, who are going to bring the Shekhinah down into this world. Okay? So that's the overview. You're holding about 10 lines down from the top. We started, what do you mean? A new Maimer. Like 8 o'clock. Around about 5 minutes ago. Yeah, you're on time, don't worry. Yeah, it's Basi Legani. You're familiar with the concepts where we say that the Eibishter Shekhinah originally, even though now the primary dwelling place of the Shekhinah is in the heavens, but originally when the Eibishter made the world, the Shekhinah, the primary place where Shekhinah dwelled, was down here in this world. And it was the job of the Yidden in the past, starting from Avram Avinu and going all the way down to Moshe Rabbeinu, to bring the Shekhinah back into this world, until ultimately Moshe Rabbeinu built the Mishkan and brought the Shekhinah, revealed the Shekhinah there in this world. So to now, like we're going to see further in the Maimer, we, all of the Yidden who follow Moshe Rabbeinu's path, have the job of revealing the Shekhinah back down here in this world. That's where we're holding in the Maimer.
To an extent, though, the Shekhinah is with us. I mean, the Hashem is with us. So, in not the same level, but that is going to be when
there's no question. There's no question about that. But we won't. That's a longer discussion we won't get into. But just to answer it in a word, we don't see the revelation of Hashem in this world. So to have Hashem in a revealed sense in this world, where the world itself feels like a revelation of the Eibishter. That's the idea of bringing the Shekhinah down here into this world. It's a very long topic, but in a word, that's how we'll explain it. Okay. Now, the Maimer, the Frierdiker Rebbe explains that even though the pasuk in its literal sense is talking about the Beis Hamikdash or the Mishkan, however, it says, "Shechanti b'seichem, I will dwell in them," and like Chazal darshan on the pasuk, "B'seich kol echad ve'echad," that the Eibishter dwells within every single Yid. And this is the meaning of the pasuk, that tzaddikim. Let's touch the pasuk first, literally. Okay, tzaddikim yirshu aretz, that tzaddikim will inherit the land. V'yishkenu lad land, they will dwell on it forever. Right. So the Pirush HaPashat of this pasuk is that the world will belong to the righteous, and they will have it for forever. V'yishkenu lad land, they will live in this world for forever. However, what's the Pirush HaPnimi of this pasuk? So he says like this: "Tzadikim b'nei Yisrael mashkinim u'mamshichim b'chinas sheichin ad monim v'kadosh yibegilu lamata." Pnimi Yisrael, he teaches the pasuk that the Yidden cause the Eibishter to dwell, and they draw him down. Which level of the Eibishter? The level of sheichin ad monim v'kadosh, the one who dwells eternally, and he's uplifted, exalted, and holy. Ad over here is actually not from the lashon eternally, but it's from the lashon of like Ein Sof, without an end. Shir begilu lamata, it should be begilu lamata. So let's go back to the pasuk. It says tzadikim yirshu aretz, The tzaddikim inherit the land. Why do they inherit the land? Because v'yishkinu la'ad aleh, because they cause to be sheikhin, they draw down the level of ad down here into this world. That's the Pirush HaPnimi of tzaddikim Yishar. Through the work of the tzaddikim, they cause that the highest levels in Alikus, the level of ad, should dwell down here in this world. How does this happen? Like it says in Zohar, that when you bend and break the Sitra Achra, so then you cause a histalkus, a revelation of the glory of the Eibishter in all of the worlds. And he explains through the Aveda of bending or breaking the Sitra Achra, and is hapha and transforming the Sitra Achra. So through this you cause istalik yikarat kutchabrichu. What is pshat istalik yikarat kutchabrichu? There's a question over here. Usually istalik is melashon histalkus, something that's removed. Over here the Zohar uses the word in an unusual sense to say remove. I think istalik is a melashon of, I think so. This is, yes, Maila, but each word has a different teichin. You could use the word Maila. When you use the word istalkus, you mean to say also that it's something that's removed. That it's, yes, it goes high, but you're also emphasizing that it was removed from here, as opposed to just saying that it went high. As if that's how I understand it. So it's usually this word is used to mean the opposite. So he explains that the Zohar is actually hinting to a very deep idea over here. That through the Aveda of Iskafia and Ishapcha, we draw down an extremely high light. We draw down a light which is so high that it can exist, and it does exist in all of the worlds equally. Which this light is in general, it wherever it finds itself, it's in a state, it's in a way of being removed and apart from the places that it's in. So we're not going to get into all of this. These are all concepts that require long explanation and are discussed at length in many places in Chassidus.
Yes, remember he's going higher.
Correct.
And he's still good.
Correct.
Okay, so he does have something going higher. Yeah, you mentioned.
No, it's right. No, but what he's explaining over here is, I don't know if we should get so much into it because it deserves a long explanation onto its own. But the basic idea is that when something comes to a place, it can come to that place in a way that it relates to the place, or it could come to the place in a way that remains aloof and separate. In other words, when a king comes someplace, let's use a mashal. When a king comes someplace, so he could either come as he is, wherever he goes, he comes in his royal clothing and with his royal entourage, and he remains lofty and exalted, or a king could come someplace and he lowers himself, he fits in a little more, he's mitzamtzim himself to fit in a little more to the place that he's coming to. In both places, the king came. Right? In one case, the king came with all his glory. He came fully dressed and with all of his courtiers and his ministers, with the full glory and might of the king. So he came to the place, yes, but he didn't enter into the space that he came to. He came as the king who always remains lofty. Or a king could come where he dresses a little toned down and he doesn't come in a way that inspires awe. Sort of like what we say, Melech Basadi. He comes in a way where he actually enters into the space where he lowers himself and hides his greatness so that he could be on a more relative, a state where he can communicate with the people there. So that's what he's saying over here. When you say istalik, we're talking about the light that's so high that wherever it comes, it just comes as it is. It never lowers itself. It never has a tzimtzum. It always comes the way it comes. Okay? Again, it's a long topic to properly explain, and it's not the main emphasis of the Rebbe and the Maimer, so we'll leave it at that. But let's just make a summary of what he's saying over here. He laid down a general idea. The general idea is that we have to bring the Shekhinah down here into this world. Okay? And then he said that bringing the Shekhinah down here into this world is represented by what? By the Beis HaMikdash, or by the Mishkan. Why is it represented by the Beis Mikdash or the Mishkan? Because it says, "Vasuli Mikdash v'shachanti b'seichel." Okay, so bringing the Shekhinah down here into this world means the idea of a Beis Hamikdash. What's the idea of a Beis Hamikdash? So I was going into great detail to explain to us what's the idea of the Beis Hamikdash in each one of our own work, in the Aved of every single Yid. So he says like this: the Aved of every single Yid is Tzadikim Yishar Tzvishkin Ladaleh. That we have to do the Aved of Iskafia and Isabcha in order to reveal the Shekhinah down here in this world. And when we do the Aved of Iskafia and Isabcha, so then we draw down the highest levels of Elikus into this world. Okay, that's where we're holding so far. And now he's going to get a little more specific and in detail about the Aveda of Iskafia and Isabcha and how that corresponds to the idea of a Beis HaMikdash. So let's see where he continues now. The line starts with a Seviv Kalam, and it's right in the middle of the page, just after the middle of the page. This hamshacha that the Yidden accomplished through Iskafia and Ishapcha in their own personal Aveda is forever. So he types over here la'ad in if nitzchi va'ad lashem nitzchis. This high level that's called ad is drawn down in an eifin of ad in an eternal way that the Eibush Shekhinah is permanently now in this world. When Mashiach will come, that's the way it's going to be. That since the whole idea of the Beis Hamikdash is the idea of the Aved of Iskafia and Ishapcha, that's why the Beis Hamikdash was made out of wood that are called shittim, from trees that are called shittim. Like it says in the pasuk, we should make the beams of the Mikdash, la Mishkan, for the Mishkan, they should be made out of shittim trees and they should be standing. Why dafka shittim? So he says like this: since the Aved of the Mishkan and the Mikdash is to transform darkness into light, therefore it was made out of Shittim, which what's the idea of Shittim? He explains in his Maimer, to change and transform the shtus, the irrational lu'umazeh, into an irrational kedusha. He explains, as everybody knows at length in the Maimer, that you have the idea of shtus lu'umazeh, which is lamata mitam v'das, that there are certain ways of this world that are below the rational way that a person is supposed to behave, either directly in Avedis or even not directly in Avedis. There are certain ways and mannerisms of this world that are just accepted and can't be moved. And a person could live in this world according to that. Or a person could live in this world according to a shtus kedusha. He takes the opposite approach. Instead of being irrational about his lifestyle of the way the Nefesh Habahamis would want him to have it, the way the Yitzhara wants him to have it, instead he does the opposite. He's irrational in the way he lives in this world, in the way his Nefesh Elikis wants it to be, in the way it is on the side of Kedusha. That he has an irrational dedication and commitment and practice of Torah and mitzvahs, and of living his life as a Yid beyond any reason. So that's why the Mishkan was made out of Atzei Shittim, to represent this idea that you have two types of shtus. You have two types of irrational behavior. One type of irrational behavior is the irrational behavior of the Nefesh Habahamis, of this world, of the natural order of things. Then you have the other type of irrational behavior, which is the irrational behavior of the Neshama, which is beyond this world. And the Aveda of a Yid is to change his natural born state of irrational behavior in this world to a state of irrational behavior of the Nefesh Elikis. To explain this, it might be that's shtus. Yes, they're both irrational. That's why they're both called shtus. Perhaps to illustrate this point, there's a famous story with the Alter Rebbe that I heard recently. But it's written up. It's a famous story, and I'll focus on one point that really makes this point of that you have a shtus kedusha and you have a shtus lu'umazeh, and you have to change from one to the other. There was a famous year that when the Chassidim used to walk to the Alter Rebbe, right? Because going to see Riyas Pnei Harav is based on what it says in the Gemara, that the same way you have to be Eila L'Regel 3 times a year, so too you have to be Mekabel Rabbi 3 times a year. So just like Aliyah L'Regel was the mitzvah was dafka to walk, so Chassidim in the older generations, in the previous generations, would walk to their Rebbe for this Aliyah L'Regel to their Rebbe. There was one year I think it was in Liozna still, yeah, I believe it was still in Lozna, where the winter came very early, and it was a very harsh winter. So even though Rosh Hashanah is September time, which even in Russia it's colder than here September time, but it's not yet the dead of winter. That year it was already freezing, and Hasidim walked as usual for weeks, and many of them came, and they were very, very sick, very, very sick. And the doctor, I think his name was Rabbi Avram, he went around. Yeah, it was Rabbi Avram. He went around to the different people, who weren't well, to try to help them. Some of them he was able to help. Some of them were mamish at the doorway of death. And the Chassidim came to the Alter Rebbe, and they reported to the Alter Rebbe the situation. Now, I don't remember all the details, but the Alter Rebbe called to him three of the greatest Chassidim, his greatest Chassidim, and I think he made them a bezdin. He turned them into a bezdin, and he gave them some of his kiddush, and he said that all of the sick people should be brought. They should take from the wine. They should be brought to the shul. Now, these were three of the Alter Rebbe's greatest Chassidim. So they went from house to house to tell the people to bring the sick people in their bed to the shul. And over there, the Alter Rebbe said, Teira, I forgot that's how Teira was Mekasher. It's Simchas Teira, and Teira is the union of Refuah. Somehow I forgot the details of what the Alter Rebbe said. So they went from house to house. Some people must have to be brought in their beds. That's how sick they were. They couldn't walk. They had to be carried in their beds. There was one chassid who was the most sick of all of the chassidim, and the doctor had completely given up hope on him, and he was nearly dead. He was nearly dead. Now his father was a big goyin. His father-in-law, this chassid's father-in-law was a big goyin, but a misnagid. He lived in Lozhne. He respected the Alter Rebbe a lot because of because the Alter Rebbe's ability in learning, and he would ask the Alter Rebbe questions, etc. So he respected the Alter Rebbe, but he was completely opposed to the Alter Rebbe's entire way of serving Hashem, and he was a misnagid, a big misnagid. So he was in the house, and his son-in-law is laying in bed, nearly dead, and his grandchildren are there. These three great Hasidim come into the house, and they tell the children of this chassid, because they couldn't talk to the chassid himself, they tell the children of the chassid what the Alter Rebbe said. And the father-in-law, hearing this, starts screaming at them. This is Ritzicha Mamish. This is Pashat murder. To take somebody who's nearly dead and to take him outside in the cold, out of his bed, and slap him, it's Pashat against nature. In nature, he's Pashat going to die from it. And Teda paskins that you're not allowed to do it. And the two sons of this chassid, who are chassidim of the Alter Rebbe, are turning the opposite. They're saying that the Rebbe is the Eibishter's tzaddik. And if a tzaddik says something, then certainly the Eibishter will fulfill his words. And by taking him to shul, he's going to have a refuah. He's going to be well. The opposite of what the father-in-law was saying. Now this chassid, one of the greatest chassidim of the Alter Rebbe, I forgot his name, is standing over there and listening to the argument. And in his heart, he agreed more with the father-in-law. With the misnagid, he agreed more with the father-in-law that to do this makes no sense. It seems like the wrong thing to do. And he's embarrassed with himself that having learned by the Alter Rebbe for so many years and understands all of the depth of, not all of the depth, but a lot of the depth of the Alter Rebbe's stated, and being a dedicated chassid of the Alter Rebbe and being shown so much closeness by the Alter Rebbe. Here he's being challenged with the point of view of the misnagid, while the simple chassidim, the children of this chassid, have no doubt in their minds about what the right thing to do is, and to them it's an obvious thing. Take the man outside, bring him to shul, and he'll get better. And here he himself, he's doubting it. He describes it, however, these two opposing views, he describes it in a very interesting way that's very negea to the shtus tikdusha or shtus lumazeh. He says this was an argument between the seichel of the nefesh habahamis and the seichel of the nefesh halikis. The seichel of the nefesh habahamis sees reality as what? As nature. And therefore, what does the seichel of the nefesh habahamis argue? That we have to take into consideration nature, and nature is the one that's in charge and the one that's going to determine what happens. And that was the view of the misnagid. And then you have how the neshama sees the world. You have the seichel of the nefesh halikis. The seichel of the nefesh halikis sees the world as what? As nothing more than the Eibishter's creation. And what determines what happens in this world? The Eibishter, not nature. Nature doesn't determine what happens in the world. The Eibishter does. And the Nefesh Halikis sees it like this and has no doubt about it. And the question is, what does the person feel within himself? And here this chassid is saying, why by myself I feel the argument of the Nefesh Abamis strongly, while these two simple chassidim of the Alter Rebbe feel the argument of the Nefesh Elokis, that by them is bepashtus. That's the story. I think what happened is the old man, the not well man, heard what was going on, I believe. When he heard that the Alter Rebbe says that people should come to Shul, I believe he sat up, he said, dress me and take me. Either that or I'm mixing that in from a different story, maybe that's to take him in his bed. I can't remember the end, but of course he went, he had a refuah shlema. But when you get this, you have this shtus telumazan, the shtus tektusha, you have this fight. You have the way the Nefesh Abamis sees the world, and what's reality and what's true, and how to behave. And you have the way the Nefesh Elokis sees this world, and what's reality and how to behave. And that's the fight over here, where he says that you have to change the natural state that a person is born with, where he sees the physical world as the main reality, and transform that into a shtus of the Nefesh Elokis, where it doesn't matter what nature looks like. I'm going to go beyond ration, beyond reason, and I'm going to do what the Nefesh Elokis wants me to do in all areas of my life. So that's the idea of aficha shtus til umazat to shtus to kedusha, and that's our aveda. That is our aveda. Let's continue. According to what we explained earlier in the Maimer Shas, that the beginning of drawing down the Shekhinah, the beginning of the process of drawing down the Shekhinah was already during Matan Torah. Therefore, in Matan Torah, we were given two types of Aveda, side Aveda of Sur Meirah and side Aveda of Asay Tev. We'll explain in a moment what the Rebbe is saying over here. That Anechi, which was said by Matan Torah, the first of the dibros, includes in it all of the mitzvahs that say Tov. And the second dibur of Leilach Halikim Acherim, Kol mitzvahs Leisasa, which is the Aveda of Sur Meirah. Because in this Aveda of Sur Meirah and Asay Tov is included also this idea of Sai Iskafia, which is Sur Meirah, to break and to not listen to the klippos, to the Nefesh Abamis, and this Hapcha Sitra Achra, that's the Vasay Tov, to do good, to change everything into good. Because and through this you cause the Eibishter's Shechina to be revealed, the highest levels of the Shechina, the levels of Istalik and Yikara in this world. It's very interesting. What the Rebbe is saying over here is that the Pnimis, the essence of the whole Aveda, Sai of the Mishkan, as represented by the idea of Atzei Shittim, and Sai of the entire Torah, as represented by the Dibur of Anechi, Asay Tov, and Lo Yilech Sur Meirah, is this idea of Iskafia and Ishapcha. What does the Eibishter want with the Mishkan? And what does the Eibishter want with Matan Torah? That we should transform this world, we should change this world from a place of Klippah to a place of Kedusha. And that's the whole idea of the whole Matan Torah and the whole idea of the whole Mishkan. He seems to be implying that. We find this idea in the Mishkan in a second way, because these wood is called, they took the wood and they formed them into krashim, into beams, and the word for Lashon Kodesh is keresh. So he says in the Maimer, the Rebbe says keresh is kesher v'yis sheker. Keresh is the same letters of kesher, which means connection or attachment. The ACA sheker, and is also the letters of sheker, of falsehood, of deceit. What's the inner meaning? What's the point of making the Mishkan? Instead of having a kesher, a connection and an attachment to this world. This world is really sheker because it's not amiti. The world is not a true existence. It has no true existence. The Eibishter is the only true existence. To the contrary, this that the world gives in appearance, that it is a true existence, is an absolute falsehood, it's an absolute deceit. So we have to take these words and turn them into a keresh, into a beam for the mikdash, that there should be a place where the Eibishter dwells within every single one of us. In other words, what we have to do is we have to make within our own life that the Eibishter should rest within us. That's the idea of the Mishkan, where the Eibishter rests there. Okay, now the Rebbe is finally going to clarify in so many words that this is actually the whole Aveda. In other words, What's our job? Yeah, there's like there's a disconnect. We have to change the world. We have to reveal godliness in the entire world. We have to bring the revelation of Mashiach into the whole world. Yeah. So what would it gives? It might give you the idea that what do you have to do? You have to go and work in the world, and it's certainly true you do. But he says that's not the system. How do you have a mishkan? How do you have a v'shachanti b'seichem? So he says like there's a microcosm of the world within you. Just like the whole world is made up of the forces of kedusha and the forces of klippah that the Eibishter gives kayach to challenge the kedusha. And there are two sides, and there's this major battle going on, like we'll see later in the Maimer. Within a person, you also have it. And how do we bring about the revelation of Mashiach? It's by winning this battle within us. It's by doing the Aveda of Iskafia and the Aveda of Ishapcha, transforming ourselves from a being that is essentially one that lives in the natural world and sees the natural world as an existence unto its own, to being a being that lives in the Eibishter's world and sees the natural world not as an existence unto its own, but rather as a place for the Eibishter. So the Aveda of revealing the Eibishter in this world is the Aveda of Iskafia and Ishapcha within ourselves. Because it's only by revealing the Eibishter within us that we reveal the Eibishter in the entire world. So the mechanics of it, the process is sometimes lost on us. In order to reveal the Eibishter in the entire world, we need to reveal the Eibishter within us. That's the way it works. And this is self-understood from the Maimon itself, but over here the Rebbe says it in clear words. It's self-understood from the Fidik Rebbe's Maimon already, but over here the Rebbe says it in clear words. Through the Aveda of every single yid to draw down and to cause the Shekhinah to dwell within Kol Echad V'Echad Yisrael. It seems like a repetitive lashon, but there's actually a very deep idea over here. Let's read those words again. Through the Aveda of every single yid, to draw down the revelation of the Shekhinah within every single yid. What's this repetition? It's not a repetition. What he's saying is like this. It's a very critical point. He's saying is you can have the revelation of the Shekhinah within every single yid. But how was the Shekhinah revealed within every single yid? Let's say by the Rebbe revealing the Shekhinah within every single yid. By another yid, by somebody else revealing the Shekhinah within every single yid. It wasn't revealed within him by himself. That's not B'tachtenim. That's not the ultimate level of B'tachtenim. The Shekhinah was revealed in the lower places. The Shekhinah was revealed within every single human being who lives down here in this world as a yid. But not by the human being, not by the yid, the human being. It was brought down to him by a malach, by a rebbe, by another yid who was mashpi on him. That's not enough. He says no. There has to be the aveda of kol echad v'echad misal. Every single yid has to do the aveda himself, so that it should truly be by him and of him and within him. So it's not at all a repetition. There's actually a very deep idea in this, that the Aveda also has to be by the Yid himself. It can't just, the revelation of the Shekhinah can't just come to him from somewhere else. Then it's not through the Tachten. It has to be not only in the Tachten, it has to also be done and accomplished by the Tachten. Then it's truly in the Tachten. So nifel gam inin so by every single yid doing the Aveda within himself, so then we also accomplish in the entire world. Hashras Shekhinah b'mikdash, drawing down the revelation of the Shekhinah in the Mikdash, which through that you have the revelation of the Shekhinah in the entire world. Hainu hein b'mishkan sheb'midbar, sai the way it was in the Mishkan in the Midbar. Hein b'bayis Rishon b'bayis Sheni, so too in the first base of Mikdash, and the second base of Mikdash, which this was all in the past. The hein b'bayis hashlishi, and so too in the bayis hashlishi, which is going to be when Mashiach comes, which is really the present job. This is what we're working on now, which we're going to see in Mitzvah Hashem very quickly. So that's how you bring about the revelation of the Shekhinah in this world, through your own personal Aveda of Iskafia and Ishapcha. Like the Rambam writes in the beginning of Hilchos Beis HaBchira, that the Beis HaMikdash, the call of Habat HaMikdash is Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi, that the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi is similar to the Mishkan, and the same way the Mishkan was built is the way that the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi is going to be built. Just like the Mishkan was built through V'shachanti B'seichem, through the Aveda of Tzadikim Yishkenu Ard, Yirshua Tzvishkan Ladaleh through the Aveda Viskafi and his Hapcha of every single Yid, so to the Beis Mikdash Hashlishi in the revelation of Mashiach will be accomplished through the Aveda Viskafi and his Hapcha of every single Yid. שזהו, הנה המשוחס השכינה למטה כמו שהייתה בתחילה לפני העניינים הבלתי רצויים. And now the Rebbe adds a key point that he's going to get into in the Maimer. This is the idea of drawing down the Shekhinah back into this world, but not like the way it was in the beginning, because now it comes after, in the intervening time, there were unwanted things. Like he says, the Ikar Shekhinah B'Tachtonim is like we said before, that originally the Shekhinah was down here. Basi Legani Legani. But then what happened? Then suddenly the Shekhinah went away. Why? Because there were the inyanim of things that are unwanted, challenges, defeats, so to speak, going backwards. The klippus, kivyachol, having the upper hand and running the place, and being the main existence in this world. Huh? It's or it seems like it. So now, it's only because of these challenges, it's only because we live in a world now where it's possible for there to be bad, and therefore there are wars in this world for the good to be victorious. So now we actually accomplish something that we didn't even have in the original Hashras HaShechina. So the Shechina that's brought down into this world through challenge and through war is actually a higher level of Shechina than it was even in the first place. Just like the Maila of the Avedis Tshuva Lagabe the Avedis Tzaddik, like it says, Mashiach Asid La Savet Tzaddikai B'Tiyuv, the Mashiach will bring even tzaddikim to the level of a Baal Tshuva. Why? Because there's a unique greatness to the Aveda of the Baal Tshuva that even a tzaddik who has never sinned and was good his entire life cannot reach. Why when Mashiach comes, he says he's going to cause the tzaddikim to do tshuva? A tzaddik doesn't need tshuva. Why is it? Because a tzaddik does need tshuva. Not for Aveda. It's not because the tzaddik neves, but because tshuva is a much higher level than the Aveda of the tzaddik. And therefore Mashiach will bring the tzaddikim to also this idea of tshuva because it's a higher level. Says the Rebbe, in the same way, the Hashras HaShechina, the revelation of the Shechina that we bring in this world, after all of the Avedis and after all of the challenges and after all of the Chatoim and all of the Klippas that ruled for 5,000 and who knows how many years, the revelation of the Shechina after that is the idea of tshuva. And therefore it will be a revelation of Shechina which is even higher than the original revelation of the Shechina. So in the beginning of the Maimer, we said that Basi Legani that we're going to bring the Shechina back to its original state. And over here he says, no, it's not only to its original state, we're actually going to bring an even higher revelation of the Shechina than there was in the first place, because this revelation of the Shechina that's being done through our Aveda is revealing it through challenge, is revealing it through wars, revealing it through problems. It's like the Rebbe says that the entire world, the entire Seder of the world, this is in the second to the last Mugad de Kisicha. We have Leisatas, Kisisa, Nun Beis, tremendous Sicha. The Rebbe says that in Kisisa you have like the entire war, the entire Seder of the world. I don't remember the details right now, but in the beginning you have a situation of the Rebbe actually says it's an Aleph Beis Gimel. Yeah, not Shalom Mordechai's Aleph Beis Gimel. It's a good Aleph Beis Gimel. It's a different Aleph Beis Gimel. This is the Aleph Beis Gimel. There are three states in the world. There's the world the way it was in the beginning, which is represented by the beginning of Pashas Kisisa. I can't remember how. And that's the state of the world before Chet Tzedas. And then there's the middle of Pashas Kisisa where you have the Chet Egel. And that's the entire in-between period from the sixth day of creation, before even the end of the sixth day of creation. Now suddenly there's a situation where you can have sin in the world. There's a yechelis, there's a possibility for sin, and that's continuing to this very day for thousands of years. And that says because once there's a possibility for sin, you might actually have sin. Unfortunately, as we see. So that's the second stage of the world. And then what does Pashas Kisisa end with? With the Luchas Shnias, which the Luchas Shnias is also the idea of tshuva, because in the Luchas Rishonis, didn't we're in the level of tzaddikim. In the Luchas Shnias, we got halacha, medrash, agada. Moshe Rabbeinu's face got the kiran oil, got the shining light. Why? Because it had the mila of tshuva. Because over here we had a revelation that came after the Chet Egel. It was through Avodas HaTshuva. So too, that's the idea that the Rebbe is saying over here. the same idea that he says in Pashas Kisisa, that Yitaka had a revelation of a likus in the world in the beginning before Chet Etzadas. But since what came afterwards was a whole tkufa where it's shaykh for there to be Avedis, and therefore we had to do the Aved and Eifen of a Milchama, like we'll see later in the Maimer, and in an Eifen of Tshuva. So now we're going to reach a much higher level, like the end of Pashas Kisisa, there's going to be a much higher level of Gili Shchina in this world, even greater than the original Gili Shchina, because it came through the Aveda of Iskafia and Ishapche in this world. Adkan.